My name is Dr. Bansu. I'm a Congenital Heart Disease Fellow at the Bristol Heart Institute and the researcher at the University of Exeter. I'm going to discuss a bit today about the challenges of excess ECMO congenital heart disease from the perspective of having complex questions that may require complex analytics. To say that exercise is complex is probably the understatement of the day. Exercising itself is like a very complicated process that involves multiple systems. And even when we discuss about the contribution of the cardiovascular system, then we have multiple sub-mechanisms. As such, it is very expected that any methodology to analyze it will be complex as well. Exercise is very important for patients with congenital heart disease, but they tend to be younger than other cardiac patients and put a lot of value on having a normal life. We know that exercise is intrinsic to their symptoms and quality of life. We also know that on average they have lower fitness compared to their peers. Nevertheless, the cardiology guidelines still base most of the intervention recommendations on symptoms, less so on changes in fitness. More so, there are multiple factors that dictate exercise capacity in these patients, and some of them may not even be cardiac. As such, a diagnostic key for us is to narrow down disease-specific mechanisms in this age group for exercise limitation. A key aspect in congenital heart disease care is restricted patient prognostics. In a systematic review from my team, we've shown that cardiopulmonary type testing parameters, although not specific to cardiovascular causes, do predict long-term outcomes. The main issue and concern is whenever these change, in that they decrease, these changes may actually be irreversible. Going towards more specific prognostic factors in congenital heart disease, another systematic review published last year from our team looked at cardiac function measured at rest, and we've shown that strain, which is what the thread technique called speckle tracking, is predictive of outcomes in multiple congenital heart disease, and this is more specific to the intrinsic mechanisms that is can be left-sided or right-sided and can be coupled with other changes. The issue is that this is measured at rest, so some patients may have completely normal cardiac function at rest but be exercise impaired. The moment cardiac function measures to strain is our most sensitive prognostic factor, but in many ways is this enough? Because sometimes when we see these changes, again, they may be irreversible. In order to understand what gaps of knowledge we can answer with exercise testing congenital heart disease, I'll just take the example of a most common complex congenital heart disease tetralogy of Fallot. Patients with tetralogy of Fallot after they had their initial operation in childhood or in the green area of this graph, they usually have no symptoms, or at most they progress towards some loss of functionality and also some RV dilatation. The issue is we want to prevent them going towards morbidity, which is in the yellow and red side of the chart. And obviously we have an intervention called a pulmonary valve replacement or a PVR, which we want to time as well as possible to prevent this circle of morbidity and mortality continuing. Such we don't know whether there are any pathological pathways that underlie subclinical disease progression and whether there are any reversible or irreversible factors that we can modify. Keeping the same example of the tetralogy of Fallot, we can look at where the actual gaps in knowledge are and the gaps in our practice. We have again the intervention, which in this case is talking about replacement of PVR, which we are trying to see whether it can prevent them from going towards heart failure. And we know that we have a very big gap in practice in flagging patients at risk as early as possible, and also in optimizing the patient choice for intervention in those who will respond and those who may not respond favorably. And this is key in our practice day to day. This is where we believe that exercise echocardiography can come in. So if we think back at the two systematic reviews that I've presented, we've shown that RV dysfunction or cardiac dysfunction at rest and oxygen uptake through cardiopulmonary exercise testing um, increases will predict worse outcomes. We speculate and hypothesize that exercise cardiac reserve, which is the degree of cardiac functional augmentation that can happen during exercise, changes before resting function decreases, and may also change before the functional capacity changes. So in a way, we believe that cardiac reserve, as assessed through exercise testing, may be the missing link in prognosis and intervention timing decisions for patients with congenital heart disease. Now, what exactly is exercise echocardiography? I've talked about it quite a bit, but some people may not be familiar. Here you can see two pictures, one from our lab and one from a demo that we held. Basically, exercise echocardiography is a combined test where the patient or participant or athlete uh, cycles on a reclining ergometer, and we acquire images of their heart while they exercise at different levels of intensity. You may notice that in these pictures, the participants are also wearing a blue mask on their face. This is for the cardiopulmonary exercise test part of it, and it measures gas exchange and allows us to also estimate cardiac output and oxygen consumption, making it a much more reliable and comprehensive test. As you can see, the kit involved is quite standard for exercise imaging laboratory, so it doesn't really require additional equipment. Now, to move to the actual complex problems that we're encountering, first of all, we can measure a very large number of parameters with cardiopulmonary exercise test and exercise echo, more than 100. In itself, cardiopulmonary exercise testing analysis is only semi-structured and really is based on clinical experience. Reporting all of these measurements is very time-consuming for the team. There are multiple concomitant disease-modifying factors, and oftentimes when we take clinical decisions, we need to know which one is driving these symptoms or changes. And also, a major factor specific to congenital heart disease is this are a spectrum of diseases rather than single entities. Now, we've spoken about complex problems. Now let's see if there are maybe simple data analysis solutions. On the issue of multiple parameters being measured, we obviously will have quite a lot of methodological solutions coming from big data analysis. On the issue of the CPET analysis being only semi-structured, this is still based on patterns, so we can't use methodology from pattern analysis. There are quite a lot of concomitant mechanisms, and we will need to tease out interactions and causality, and this can be resolved through complex modeling. Now, the fact that there is a heterogeneous spectrum of diseases gives rise to data that can be clustered, and also echocardiography data where image recognition will be valuable. And in terms of complex time-consuming reporting, we will benefit from automatic processing. Now, a lot of these have already been done in rescue echocardiography, CPET, but to my knowledge, none of these have been implemented yet in only congenital heart disease. So, what would be my congenital heart disease exercise echo research workflow of my dreams? I would want to have, first of all, when I start, a semi-automatic cardiopulmonary exercise test core report so as to guide my exercise echo afterwards. I would like to have automatic image recognition to identify views. This has already been done for some of the echocardiography assessments, but less so in exercise testing and almost none in congenital heart disease. I would like to have hands-off core measurements for echocardiography, where there is a pipeline that automatically generates measurements that I would then validate. I would, of course, want to have algorithms that assist in variable interest identification, going back to the fact that we usually have more than 100 confounders or measurements that we can put in a model. And ultimately, I want to get to the point where I can identify key mechanisms for prognostic research, dredging through all of the data that we would then acquire. Now, just a bit about our current work on this and what the future pipeline might be. We have an ongoing healthy cohort undergoing standardized cardiopulmonary exercise testing combined with stress echocardiography. We have recruited so far 120 healthy volunteers aged 10 to 65. They are getting the full assessment with the resting ECG, resting echocardiography, CPET data, which is raw and very detailed, exercise ECG as a continuous strip, and stress echocardiography at both moderate and high intensity. All in all, in terms of the stress echo, this has generated more than 300 gigabytes of raw DICOM data that can be further analyzed. Each study uses 2D moving images, Doppler, continuous pulse, tissue Doppler. It has a wealth of data that is well standardized, and obviously more than 100 variables that are currently being measured by experts. And we have a grant application at the moment for using congenital heart disease, which is underway to add more data to this. Now, as a future pipeline, we could use this trove of data to train new or existing algorithms to give the solutions that I discussed previously, implement and translate these into congenital heart disease, generate clinical tools, and ultimately the goal would be to generate new valuable IPs. Thank you so much for your attention, and hopefully the presentation was clear. And I do apologize, I was not able to be there in person to take any questions. Thank you so much.